Morning. Call this November 18th, 2025, Commissioner's Special Meeting Order. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
And I move to accept the agenda as presented with the following additions. 11B, discussion of the future jail funding.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comment. Anybody here this morning wishing to make a public comment? Anybody online to?
Nobody with their hand raised.
Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of prior minutes.
And I move to approve the minutes of the November 4th, 2025 Commissioners' regular meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're now going to have an opportunity for the public to comment on regarding the budget estimates returned to the commissioners after the Budget Advisory Committee completed their work last month. Is there anybody here this morning who would like to speak on the proposed budget of the recommendations made by the Budget Advisory Committee before the commissioners take final action on their budget, which will be done later in the meeting? Hearing none, we'll move on. Animal control. Morning, Michael.
Good morning. As I had indicated, it's that time of year when we start putting together the annual renewals for the agreements and the MOUs. You kind of this past year turned that back over to me solely to work with the communities, but I gave you a draft copy just to keep in the loop in terms of where we're at. But the agreements are the big priorities. One of the things starting out, that there's a couple different things actually, but whether or not the $2,500 amount you want to keep the same. I certainly don't recommend increasing it.
I'm in favor of keeping it the same.
Well, it's covering the cost of the.
Yes, so far, yeah.
There's no reason. No reason to increase it. And you're okay with the 25? By general consensus, we'll stay with 25.
Okay. Then the mileage reimbursement, generally, that's usually always the amount determined by the standard business rate of the IRS, which will be another probably a couple of weeks, so I'm not sure, but they did indicate, I indicated in my memo that it's probably going to be somewhere between 70 to 73, 71, 73 actually. So, I mean, you can just indicate we go with the standard mileage rate. As soon as I know that amount, I can plug it in, or I can plug it in that way in the language as well. So,
What's the county?
right now it's 70,
We set that to 26.
not 26.
Just curious, we should either follow the county rate or the county rate mirror the federal rate. We don't.
No, not 100% yet. I mean, it should be in the next couple of weeks.
Will we be setting the county rate before that? We won't be setting the county rate before we set that, before we find out.
No, no, we don't usually, but normally, obviously, we echo, like you said, so the amount the feds act with that, and then that's usually what gets incorporated into this contract as well.
So we have an opportunity to set both the county rate and the ACO rate at the federal rate. We have time enough to do that. We'll get
I mean,
to.
you can wait 2 more weeks, and like I indicated, I can, if I send any of these out, because communities requested earlier, I can just put a notation on there that it's likely to be rain.
All right, I'm going to move to set the mileage rate to the federal rate per mile and keep fees at the current level.
I'll second that.
Further discussion?
So for clarification, that's for the 2026, right? Okay.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I will put those together and keep you updated. resignation. So we had received the resignation of primary, our first and only up until the past couple of weeks, in patrol officer Daniel McKay, with his effective date, well, he indicated October, but obviously that was supposed to be November 15th.
All right, I move to accept the resignation of primary animal care officer Daniel McKay, effective November 15th, 2025, and to thank him for his service to Hancock County.
I'll second that.
Well, not wanting to pry into his personal reasons for getting done, but it had anything to do with the lack of business.
I mean, I think obviously the challenge we have is part of that. I mean, how much time can be put in? The part-time nature of it, obviously is another challenging factor. But I mean, we've been moving in a positive direction and we still have been up to this point adding community. So it's hopeful that maybe some of that will turn around a little bit, but it's going to be a challenge with anybody because in most cases, you're probably going to find somebody that's doing this obviously as part-time, probably has some other part-time job or another full-time job that you're trying to work around as well, which, you know, makes it challenging. And then as we found out too, that if they can't be expected to be here 365 days a year, so times when they're not here, that leaves the county in a position, well, what do we do with, you know, the fallback to that? And basically, obviously, we found that for a couple of weeks and like all good plans, like everybody else, once we get fully staffed, we get back to somebody probably getting done. So, and that's kind of where it's at. So, I mean, the challenge, perfect world, we'd be able to put somebody in there 40 hours a week and we'd have the whole county and we could do some stuff with it. And there's still some other things working with communities. We're going to talk to them about maybe being able to get some more hours in there, not for the sake of just getting hours, but to actually provide services that the towns need as well. But it's challenging, obviously.
Have we closed on Ellsworth yet?
I've got to follow up with them again. I haven't really heard much since I sent the contract back over to them. So.
Further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Okay, so the next one is leave of appointment. As soon as we were aware that the resignation had been received, the Human Resource Director had advertised internally for the position. We did have one applicant, you can imagine, was the newly hired secondary individual, Nicole, who had applied for that position. And after having conversations with her, we're putting forth the recommendation that she now be moved up to the primary animal control officer, regional animal control officer for Hancock County.
I'm going to move to approve the upward transfer of Nicole Redeker from the secondary regional animal control officer to primary regional animal control officer at a rate of $26 per hour effective November 22nd, 2025.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So I think we're going to go out to the person now.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, we're not anticipating an immediate response, but yeah, we'll try to see what we can do.
Well, we just went out for that time, that secondary.
Yeah.
Did we
And
get
she
a lot
was
of interest?
trying to, we had maybe 3 or 4 applicants, but, you know, a couple of them never, when we called to follow up with them, never followed up with us, so I have to assume that they weren't really interested or
Was that recent enough ago that you could use those and hire?
there's nobody else left in the pool.
Nobody else?
Yeah,
Let's start over
that
again.
would be interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Tim.
Or
You have some promotions.
Yeah, everything's going on.
What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I'm going to move to approve the promotion of Emily Carver to temporary full-time effective November 22nd, 2025 at the current rate of pay with the accruals of sick time and comp time.
I'll second that.
So temporary full-time, Tim. Have we got to approve that every 30 days or something? Remember?
No, they, not temporary full, but you will, the next one, you will, the commission work out a classification as a standard. They can work every
So
60
how long
days.
well, what's the purpose of temporary as opposed to fulfilling?
Get us through the interview process. We have some people that's interested. We have an individual that's out and he's going on military commitment. So we're trying, we need to fill that, so we can't fill the position full time. So we're trying to have both together soon.
Okay. Gentlemen, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, then we have to change the classification, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to move to approve the corrections officer, Travis True, working out of classification as shift corporal effective 11/22/2025 in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement, Article 24, Section 4, temporary transfer / working out of classification.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That one mentioned for that, do you predict that one back to come back to us in 60 days?
Yeah, that one has to be back every 60 days for a contract.
There's a resignation.
Move to accept the letter of resignation from corrections officer Alex Lysky, effective November 6th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hiring. And I move to approve the hiring of Hunter Robichaux of Orland as part-time, on-call, as needed corrections officer at level 9A with the effective date of November 22nd, 2025, with no benefits.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Where's that leave you? Tim, where's that leave you with your overall?
That's gonna leave us full status right now. We have a vacancy which should still be, I mean, that's our full status right now, we've got full time.
Okay, we have discussion on closing in the log cabin foyer. Good morning, David.
Morning.
I saw him moving.
Yeah, serious.
Morning, Dennis.
Yes, good morning.
Just try to, hold on.
Hi,
You got your okay.
good.
Want to talk to us about this closing this foyer. Who wants to lead that discussion?
Dave's got the details.
Right, so, the front of the log cabin, we need to close it in, make it weather tight, use as a weather break to go in. It originally was in the, EOC contract, which we pulled out. It was, a lot of money. Didn't think we were getting bang for a buck. So we went out and got a couple of, estimates. We thought they'd come in at a certain level, they came in at a much higher level. And that precipitates us going up to bid.
So right now you haven't gone out for bids, you just
No.
kind of did some.
Right.
Just want to make sure.
We're, right, we're.
I'm going to move to approve issuing a request for bids to enclose the log cabin foyer.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Morning, Bob.
One.
Bring your attention, we had, back in October, when we sent out September, I'm sorry, we sent out the last quarter invoices for dispatch for this year. We added a small note of the anticipated increase in dispatch fees next year, 3%, not 6%. Yeah, at the middle of the year. The town of Surrey replied back that they cannot sustain the 3% increase in January, not be paying that, but would budget for the 6% in July. Because the contract was between the commission and the town of Surrey, bring your attention on if you wanted to do anything with that, proceed.
What's that amount to in money?
$62.
They can't pay $62?
I guess not. I did reply that, we understood, but, the annual increase is set by the commission each year, and it's typically been 3%. And I have not had any return correspondence.
The 911 calls would go directly to Surrey?
No. So we provide dispatching service to the Surrey Fire Department. So the towns that we directly dispatch for are all assessed a small fee per capita. The current fire department dispatching fee for this year is $2.65 per capita. So their contract year for this year is $4,324.80. The 3% increase is 8 cents per capita. So in January, $2.73 per capita, basically bringing it up in January to $4,455.36.
Let's back up a minute, make sure Sam understands. When you dial 911, you get a public safety answering point. So there's an individual who answers all the 911 calls. They determine what your emergency is, and then they redirect that call to the appropriate service provider. Now, in the sheriff's office case, they're all one and the same for several of the fire departments. So if they get a 911 call of a fire in Surrey, they answer it as a PSAP, as a public safety answering person, and then they give it to themselves and dispatch out as part of this contract on the Surrey fire. So you see the difference between 911 and dispatching. One is simply answering the 911 call, redirecting it to the people that service, and the dispatching of the people that actually deal with the service provider.
Right, we're actually doing dual functions. And we have about 25 fire departments and several EMS services and a couple of part-time police departments. So we provide contract service to basically send them to where they've got to go and maintain communications with them, update all of their information during their incident.
So if this is 911 receives a call of a personal injury accident in Ellsworth, they would take it as a public safety answering point and then redirect it to the city of Ellsworth, their service provider. Surrey of the fire, they would take it and then they would dispatch because they provide that service for the town.
If they can't pay, do they still get the same thing?
Well,
That's the problem.
I think that's, somewhere short of Washington County, I'm glad to see that managing the finances to that level, but still, I'm concerned that we forgive $62 here, the next thing you know, we get somebody out there with a $3,000 bill that wants to be forgiven. And we've set a precedent, so. What do you think, gentlemen?
They haven't refused to pay current fees. They're just saying that they can't sustain the increase. But we'll do it. They'll budget for the entire 6% in July 1st. That we have agreed on. So I don't know.
Do you want to forgive that $62, gentlemen, or?
Well, could they catch up once their budget is set?
I don't know that. That hasn't been a conversation. I'm not sure that that's.
Because with that
That
small
might
sum,
Bake sale.
big sale.
Yeah, our dispatch fees are fairly small anyway. But I'm not sure how to proceed. It's not a huge number. I don't see what we can do. To take them to court or anything like that, it can be ridiculous. The cost. Yeah, but I don't know.
I say we don't forgive it. If they don't pay it, well, shame on them. We'll just move on. That's my theory. It's up to you, Joe. What do you want to do?
It wasn't my purpose to make a mountain out of money. It's just,
July 1st, they'll still owe that $62. Just like Sam says, make it up on the second half of the year. You have time enough to do that. Get it into your budget, catch up. I'm not willing to forget it. What do you want to do, Tim? It's fine. Just keep it on the books. Okay, by general consensus, we're going to keep it on the books.
thank you.
Morning, Josh.
Morning, gentlemen.
We're talking about health insurance retiree rates. Gentlemen, in your folder, you have a breakdown of the financial information. Josh is providing this. So the bottom line is that currently county is paying $311 for retirees monthly premium for supplemental. They're kicking in another 100 to make that whole. The projection for 2026 is that's going to go up to $473.99 total. And the county continues to only pay. What do you see?
If the retirees continue to pay.
I mean, the retirees.
So do you know the history, like, have we adjusted this? What's the history of the adjustment?
Well, historically, what we're at is basically a 75, 25 cash share right now. So the employer is paying 75% of that the employee is paying. Or the retired is paying roughly 25% of that. So if we kept in line with that, what we're thinking, we would move to about 118 retiree with this new rate of 473.99. If that's the cost share that you want to keep in place.
Monthly more, it's increased $20. If we went up to $120 from 100, that's only $20 increase, right?
Yeah, it's very close.
Yeah, I was thinking 125, 120s. Any more, you couldn't do more than that, I don't think.
I'd be open to
Do you want
125.
to fix it?
Can you make that a motion 125?
I'm going to move to set the monthly contribution rates for retiree supplemental health insurance for 2026 to $125 per month.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, the next item that we have up, gentlemen, is.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Joe. Does that in any way affect the retiree buyout? That's all separate.
That has nothing to do
It has
with the
nothing to do with that. That doesn't.
buyouts, right? And actually, the rate was set at $75, I think, for several years, and last year was the first year you had an increase. Right.
That's what I thought.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Josh, go ahead.
So last commissioners meeting 2 weeks ago, we discussed in length the possibility of the 4-day work week change. So I drafted up the policy change for the non-union departments to allow their full-time employees to work that 4-day schedule. So that policy is before you today if you wish to consider that.
I move to approve the hours of operation policy change that incorporates the non-union 4-day workday schedule with the effective date of November 29th, 2025 as presented.
I'll second that.
I'm still bothered by the clause in here that in any given work week as a holiday, the employee must revert back to the 8-hour day and take the holiday off pay. Granted, they're getting a holiday, but
They're not getting their pay raise.
well, they're getting full pay for the week, and they're getting that holiday, but thing is that they're not enjoying the ability to have a 3-day work week. In other words, working 4 10s, having the holiday off. And if the holiday's on Monday and the regular day's on Friday, you get the holiday off of pay, they work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then have Friday off, as their regular day off. We're gonna lose that now in this policy. They're not being shorted in the sense there is any difference in actual compensation or benefit pay, but they're losing that ability for an extra day off that that extra day that holidays apply. And
To me, the policy is, like, this is like our experiment this next year, so with it, I would keep it as it's been changed, and then we'll just have to see how it works out, if there's issues that
I
arise
don't
from it.
think there's gonna be any issues, it's just how does the employee feel about having to work? And what if you had childcare set up on a strict schedule that couldn't be changed, or, in other words, you knew you had Friday off, so you didn't have childcare, now you're gonna work Friday, scramble for childcare, I guess those, at the time those issues came to us, it's almost too late. I mean, we've already created, you know, a potentially disadvantage for the employee.
An employee, I think, decide not to go on a 4-day week.
If they decide they want to go on a 10-hour day, 4-day work, they would be on, what this policy says though, if you are on that, it will say Friday's your regular day off, Monday's a holiday, you now revert, on that week, you revert to 8-hour days, and you take paid holiday for Monday. So now you're gonna be working, still working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with Monday off as a holiday, you're working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, with holidays pay, so.
So that might not work out for some.
I'm saying it could, that could cause issues, and it, for those people presently working shift work, corrections, dispatch, patrol, those people have the ability to have in one work week, they have the ability for a day off for a holiday and a day, regular day off for the schedule. We've taken that away from this group of employees.
If somebody experiences it, well, this isn't for me. Can they revert back to a standard 5-day work?
It's on two issues here, I think. The first issue, if I understand what you're saying, is if somebody says, I want to go to 410, somehow that didn't work, sure, I'm sure that the department head would let them go back to 5/8, right?
Self-correcting.
Josh?
Yes, the policy as it is written is just giving them expanded ability to go to 4 days if they want to. There's nothing keeping them from reverting back to 5 days.
And it's at the discretion of the department head, but if, I can't see the department head, if they give them the option, and they decide this doesn't work, let them go back to option A, I don't see that. But the issue is here is that forcing that 10-hour employee to go to 8 hours when it's a holiday. Now, having said that, we'd have to create the ability for comp time earned in some situations here, which technically doesn't happen with non-shift work employees, but you'd have to, there's times when that could kick in. Which isn't a problem, because the policy says we don't pay comp time for overtime. Nothing says that you can't pay comp time for, in lieu of a benefit. In other words, if the holiday fell on your regular day off, you would get the equivalent of comp time for that work day. And that may happen in this case, but that's just something we have to work into the policy. I'd approve the policy if we remove that section, gentlemen, but it's up to you.
Like I said, I'm good with it being how it
Okay.
is.
And I'm not good with that, and Sam, I guess it's up to you, either leave it in. I've decided to either leave it in or take it out, that'll be what the policy will be, June.
So would it be possible to, have the department head decide whether they go back to the 4/8 for the holiday or do what you're saying? Because I mean, some other, companies, they're doing the 4/10s, but if there's a holiday, then they go back to like the 3 in the holiday, like.
We'd have to insert in here at the discretion during the weeks containing,
Holiday.
because right now this mandates requirements to go back to 8-hour work days.
The intention when I looked at that, commissioners, was so that you didn't have a situation where some employees were working 3 days during a holiday week and some others were not getting that benefit, and then you had a haves and have-nots situation. So that was trying to keep the policy as fair as possible.
so that everyone reverted back to 8-hour days, and everyone got that holiday off.
Well, that's, might be honorable, but I mean, that's the world we live in. I mean, in your shift work employees and whatnot, that it's luck of the draw. Where does that holiday fall with regards to my regular day off? You know? Now, if you have an employee that's 10-hour workday and they said, I'm always gonna take Monday off, and Monday being, often being a holiday, they're unaffected by that perhaps. But when you have taking any other day off during the week, then when you talk about fairness, they're losing the ability for that extra benefit that, you know, 2/3 of the county already enjoys. Sam, I think we talked this enough. What do you want to do? Take it out or leave it in?
I say leave it.
Okay, motion stands. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm opposed.
Okay, and lastly, I just had a quick update. As you're probably aware, Anthem and Northern did reach an agreement finally, so we don't have to look at any alternate options there for our retirees. The exact terms of that contract hasn't been released for public view, but there's no indication that I have that the benefits have changed at all from what they had prior to this agreement.
Do they have a tentative agreement?
They do have a full agreement now, yes.
They have a full agreement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, George?
That's it. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, moving on, treasurers. We have a transfer of $130,000 going to the jail reserve account. Have we acted on this yet?
You acted on it last time but I didn't have a transfer sheet.
So this is just a signature today?
Yes,
Okay, so it doesn't require any action.
right,
So all we need, gentlemen, is signatures on this.
right.
And we'll do that right now while you're standing.
Oh, wait.
So the agenda.
Where we go?
Anything else, Monica, this morning?
The added item,
Discussion.
discussion of the current year jail finances. I brought this up last time, and we might be okay by the end of November, but I am concerned by the end of December that the jail is going to be, the jail account is going to be in the negative. And we discussed it a little bit last time, but I didn't receive really any.
What do you think, how bad do you think it's gonna be December 31st for jail?
It could be as low as negative 300,000.
Could be more.
I'm rough estimating the upcoming payrolls and accounts payable. It's hard to tell. That's my rough estimate is around 3. It could be as high as maybe 350.
And there's no reason to believe that next year's gonna be any better, correct?
No, that's right. That's right.
Because I was gonna be prepared at discussion later, which we finalize the budget to add a $250,000 to the jail tax cap. So I think that's when we should have that discussion, exactly what that number is going to be.
We do have, now that some of the reporting has been caught up, hopefully we'll receive the second quarter of the state funds, which should help a little bit. And that's roughly 139,000, so that should help that whole.
But that's not gonna decrease to 300,000.
Yeah, it should a little bit. Yep. We just don't know when we're going to receive it from the.
Well, even if we didn't get it till April 1st, we can still apply it back to the 25 budget, correct?
I suppose, but we're talking actual cash balances to be able to pay bills and payroll. We'll receive it before April 1st. I feel, I don't know if Tim has a
You
feeling.
can't run that as a deficit somehow and then catch it up later? Guess I don't understand the system.
This is the real balance in the jail checking account today is $143,000. That's real funds.
And we can't,
And that's because that's a separate fund.
It's a separate fund.
So
and we
that's-
can't dip into something else, cover those costs until we can catch up.
You tell me.
Yeah, you can tell the treasurer what you want to do, but that would be the next conversation is where.
That's right. If we receive the 139 before the end of the year, then that would basically be paid back to us. That's what we're doing is deciding whether we need to float them 300,000.
Well, we've got to pay our bills, yeah, obviously, we've got to float some money to stay,
I just need your direction.
and we need your advice.
Last year, we took it from the general fund. It basically was a deficit to our interest earnings in the general fund.
Do we have the funds and there's funds there to do
Yeah.
it?
And you have those, and that would be your recommendation this year? It's got to be come from somewhere, Monica.
Yep.
You're the best person, Michael, the best people to tell us where it should come from.
Yeah, either that or community benefits.
If we take it from community benefits and it gets reimbursed later, we can put it back in the CDA.
Sure.
Okay. I guess I don't care if we're covering the amount of money that we anticipate we're gonna receive later, just to stay
It's
afloat.
not the full amount.
So we should. Well, I'm talking about the 136.
Yeah,
Beyond that, we're gonna have to.
okay.
Haven't we always made up the difference because we've been following the tax cap? So we've always been short, we've always had a workaround.
Well, for this year, actually, for 2025, you did vote to increase at the recommendation of the 2025 BAC. You did vote to exceed the 4% cap. For 2026, you did not yet vote to exceed 4%.
And that's the discussion we'll have later in the meeting
Right.
today, right?
So even with that increase in the cap, they're still going to be in the hole by the end of the year. And I'm afraid we're gonna be in the same situation 1 year from now. We'll be having this discussion again. It'll be the third year.
But the driving force for exceeding the tax cap in 25 was the medical contract,
Yeah,
which was several $100,000 more. So,
it's not going away.
not right. So I think that's still, if we only increase the tax cap to cover that, we still got those overages that we've been dealing with all along, so. So can we continue this discussion later in the meeting? Resolve all those, do you need anything right now?
That's up to you.
I'd like to
Okay,
tweak this all in and we'll try to finalize the budget.
okay.
Michael, we got a pamphlet from you on the.
Yes, so I gave you some materials, handouts, stuff that we put together. I'm not anticipating, obviously, that you've got through all of that, but in order to kind of get the committee formation together, the bylaws, there's some kind of macro level involvement questions that I need to kind of obtain from the commissioner and where you'd like to go, so I can put together kind of more concrete, definitive types of policies and outlines, committee structures and all that. So I did provide you with a list of questions. I just want to run through those quickly, and some of them may be as simple as, you tell me kind of thing, and I come back to you with some suggested alternatives kind of thing. But the first question to me seems pretty straightforward, but does the county commissioners want to retain full decision-making authority for all expenditures? So you're not looking to give this to the subcommittee or anything like that?
Just gonna throw money over there and do it. With oversight. Maybe oversight's the decision. Like. Well,
Which
I
ultimately
guess
falls
that's
back in your lap.
I guess that's a discussion we need to have. Michael's saying that he's concerned that we're just going to have a committee that we have no authority over, we're going to give them the money and they'll spend it as they wish. there must be a way to deal with that issue, isn't it?
So I mean, the way that normally it's set up and with many of those ones we've seen, basically how the structure would be is the committee would really do a lot of the hard work. They would collect the applications, they disperse the application, they do all that stuff. And then they would review, have the discussions, and then they would basically come back with a recommended list.
They're just giving us a recommendation.
So
You
you basically would be given the applications, you'd see the list of items and the recommendations from the committee, and then you basically would just be saying
So,
yay or nay.
so the key word is full decision making. You're saying, no, we want,
We have expenditures, so it's really just like when they finally get done, they give us the recommendations. We look at it and we're like,
We don't agree with where the
We don't agree.
committee
okay,
is.
so the answer to the first question is yes, we do. But under a situation where we have the committee make a recommendation, that's what they make the final authority.
That's what I would assume you'd want to do.
that's what the other counties seem to be doing.
The second question was, do you want somebody from the commission to serve on that committee? And I had indicated, obviously, that if you're going to be the final review, then you may want to have that degree of separation from the committee. Which then, if that's the case, the next question becomes, do you want me as the county administrator or another county employee to be recommended to sit on this committee as well? If nothing else, I could be an ad hoc if you wanted me as a county administrator to serve as the liaison between the commissioners and the committee. Or, I mean, you can make a recommendation that it's a full voting member and I become one of whatever the final number is that's determined.
Is that something you'd be willing to do?
I mean, I think it would help this process move along and keep that connection. And obviously, we don't want to jump into this and not make it successful. So I mean, if that's what it takes, I think, to help
To
move
me,
the
it makes
process
sense for you to
along.
be the ad hoc member, but I'm not sure, without voting, but I don't know, what do you think?
What is a full voting member? I served on it as a representative of the commission, I want to be a voting member. What do you think?
I mean, I'm truly fine either way. But obviously, the key is to making sure the communication between what's happening with the committee and the commission, I serve as that bridge gap. I mean, you can have, it's not going to impact whether or not, if I voted for it, you vote against it. I mean, you can do that either way. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter if I was a full voting member or not. I don't think it's just a question of whether or not you want to have me be involved in that capacity again, or even another staff member, I guess, of the county.
Okay, with voting members.
Sure. So we're going to select you as that voting member.
So the next question gets back to how do we want to identify the individuals to serve on this committee? Which is the proposed name that's been thrown out there right now is the Hancock County Settlement Funds Advisory Committee. Essentially, there's a couple different ways we can go through a list, try to reach out to people that have expertise in the various areas and come back to you with a list of names of people that are interested, their background qualifications, or we can just publicize that Hancock County is searching for individuals interested, and you see kind of what you get, and maybe we don't get everything, but then that would be where we start looking to go out and target people. So I mean, in fairness and equity and everything else, I think you'd want to advertise it just to try to get as many people that might be interested one way or the other, and then if we need to, we come back with additional recommendations to perhaps fill some of those sectors or groups that might be represented or need to be represented on the committee.
My initial feeling is that I'm not concerned so much about age for the individual, it's that in the community they represent, for example. So that we said, yes, a representative from this group, from this substance abuse, so you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that all around, we've seen that we have good full circle selection of individuals and not loading it from some individual substances.
Well, and one of the other questions I asked about was the conflict of interest policy and component to it as well. So I mean, regardless, somehow there should be some language built into either the bylaws or the rules that individual committee members, if they were, so let's say one of these organization members that submits an application that, they would recuse themselves from that discussion and final vote, because there would be arguably a financial benefit to them receiving those stocks. So
Only the final vote.
only
gets
final
selected.
vote, yeah.
Because the young lady that's been appearing for us.
Yeah.
now, she obviously represents an organization and probably shows a strong interest in being on that committee.
And of course, I haven't spoken with her specifically about that, but I mean, presumably some of these groups will be interested in obviously submitting an application, I would assume, yeah. But there are some individuals that she's reached out to that we've talked about that are like retired or something like that, where they don't necessarily represent a group anymore, but they have that experience, or somebody who's, gone through the process before. So there may be individuals that won't have any financial stake in the end results of the committee, but they have the experience of those various elements that would serve what the committee kind of needs to address issues. So
Who would decide who's gonna be on the committee?
it goes back to them. So I mean, that would be the question. Ultimately, one way or the other, you're probably going to want to have some type of application that goes out to, whether it's us searching to try to find people to fill, or whether you do an overall advertisement, then you definitely do an application process, and you just create a form for them to fill out with all the information. And I think there might have been some samples of that in what I had there. If not, I know I can certainly obviously go be putting something together for you to look at. So right now, I'm just trying to get a sense of the basic framework, so we can put this all together, and then I come back to you and you kind of make that, or make those hopefully final decisions as to how you want to move forward. So nothing you decide right now, I guess, locks you in there.
Tim, do you envision the jail being on that committee?
Do I have any interest?
Do you envision the jail being on that committee?
Somebody from the jail.
Somebody from the jail being on that committee?
I see no reason to be, honestly. I can be, I see no reason.
I would think at some point we either want position from jail or sheriff's department on the committee.
Well, I mean,
That's just my thought. but-
my thought is that as this committee's looking at that pot of available funds, they're going to want to try to piece up the pie. And if nobody's there to represent the interest of the jail, they may find themselves short-sighted on the payouts.
I'd be interested, if you want me to be, but I mean, the only reason I'm interested in these funds is trying to reduce tax dollars for the county, for the taxpayers. That's what I'm trying to use some of these funds for. I mean, if Pearl, I don't know what this is gonna
Well, yes,
entail.
even with that, the committee may need to know how does this qualify? They need to hear that from somebody that understands how opiate funds can be used in support of jail funds.
I'd be willing to be on the video.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that personally.
I don't know the answer to whether you should have like an open application thing, or you should be really like going out and targeting the different areas. I'm not sure what the right answer is, to be honest.
If you want the jail's advice, my advice, most of the people that are gonna show interest of these funds, I feel we've worked with. We should know all the players, we should, reviewing the application process. Not just because we know the players, we know what's in it, they have with, in the opioid recovery.
How do you defend though, somebody who complains that I was never considered, I never got an opportunity, and I'd like to add some of that money, but nobody asked me, nobody gave me an opportunity to.
Well, I mean, I think ultimately that part of what the committee's work would be, that they would want to advertise.
Right,
that.
right. Once the committee's set, I think they need to put out notice that these funds
Yeah,
are
if their funds are
available.
available, and if they want
But
to
then it's on
apply.
them to find.
So they would be doing a process very similar to what you do with the community benefits, basically. Obviously, no criteria, et cetera, anything like that, but I mean, that would essentially be the same type. The question is just whether you want to advertise and target. I mean, to me, it would almost seem like it might be a little bit of both. If you advertise, at least everybody had a chance to come to the table, and maybe somebody comes to the table with great skills and background that we don't know. The drawback to this that has been mentioned to me is that that slows the process down a little bit. But again, for me, I mean, it's looking at the long-term goal of making, developing a successful way to get these funds where they need to go. And if that means, you know, a little bit longer,
And being driven by community.
yeah,
So
then, you know, that's what we do. But if you are fine and willing to look at what we put together for you, then, you know, you can always, obviously, once you get the applications, be like, no, we're not interested in appointing this individual. You know, who else is on the list or whatever kind of thing.
well, I
But
think
those are
hybrid wise, it kind of makes sense. I mean, we do know like a good chunk of organizations, you know, even in your,
Yeah,
you know,
the
like
list.
who are really going to be interested in what we're doing. They're obviously going to be interested in having a say and talking about it. So, but then also keeping it, I think there is an advantage to keeping it open to making it published to, that we're looking for members because, like you said, there's lots of resources that we're not aware of. And to limit it to the groups and people that we kind of know and have already worked with isn't really, it's kind of disingenuous. At least in my feelings. So that would be my recommendation is to, I guess, create an application or however you consider it.
So obviously, application for the committee.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
committee.
Yeah, and then you're also gonna like mail that out to obviously, you're gonna know the concerned groups, everybody, send it out to them and publish it.
And see, I think that's what I was trying to make earlier was that if we pick and choose who gets an application.
Right.
Yeah, can we justify the person that complains that I never got a chance to bring my ideas
Yeah.
to? As opposed to advertising that we're accepting applications. So you're okay with?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a given, then we're gonna
So we'll just
draft an application, get advertised, it's available.
I mean, one has to assume, obviously, many of these individuals will know other individuals who know other individuals. So once the ad is out there, that should spread throughout the various groups that you might target anyway, but we'll do that. All right, let's see, next question. And, you know, I can see this go both ways, but I'm assuming there obviously would like to be some input by the commissioners, if not completely, in terms of those actual committee bylaws. So having structure to what the committee is gonna do, how they're gonna operate, all that, before you obviously went.
Excuse me, can we back up just a minute?
Yeah.
Funding for any expenses to develop this committee and whatnot, will those be taken from opioid funds?
I mean, I don't anticipate a lot, but I would assume that part of that process, if you look at some of the other groups that are doing that, they're building in positions and other items to help provide those services. So as long as they're going towards getting those funds out in there, I would assume that it would be,
They're using
you know,
it administratively.
yeah.
So
There would be-
we can use the funds, settlement funds.
I mean, I wouldn't use them top heavy to like, you know, pay somebody just to do all this stuff, but I mean, I would assume that there should be a built-in kind of overhead cost to all of this. I would assume.
I feel like we're talking about setting up a new expenditure line where if you're expecting, if you're expecting expenditures in this way, we can't just keep, it would have to be a requested transfer for funds for expenditures, in other words. Right
So in
now,
other words,
right now,
just
the
to pay a
funds,
$50 publishing
Yeah,
fee and
yeah,
just can do it, it's just man intensive.
yeah, I don't know
What's the,
what
what's
Michael's
the answer?
thoughts are on that.
Well, I mean,
Setting up an account, and taking 5,000, putting it in
Something
there.
like that, yeah.
so I think we could come back, you and I get together and come back in a couple weeks with a recommendation for how that would work. And where,
Along the same lines as community benefits.
But we don't take the cost of applications and whatnot out of the CPA account.
No,
I think, I'd like to see
it doesn't
any
have a,
cost.
We'll see what.
So it'll be fun. So moving on, how involved do we want to be in details of the bylaws for the committee?
Well, the only thing I would say is it'd be good if Michael can assist with it, just so that it gets done, because I think that's always something that like on a committee is like, it's hard to get going on it or whatever. So to me, it would be like important to take some kind of a lead, like help craft it.
Presumably, that's what, that's the route that you want to go, then that's what I would do, is come back to you with something specific to look at that kind of would fit the mold, I guess.
But the question after that of, do we want to be involved in the funding application scoring process? I would say have the committee do that. We don't want to be involved with it. That's my thought. That would be the committee's decision to come up
Well,
with.
if we have a good objective criteria for determining who gets the funds, I don't think there's a reason for us, right?
Yeah.
So, back on the bylaws, so first thing we should consider is recommending they go adopt Robert's rules. Those are really not meant for small committees. They're difficult, but impossible to follow. They just stumble sometimes. It's easier. Just like any committee, they have a right to set up their own rules. The old KISS theory, keep it simple, stupid.
So then the last is really kind of the overarching, what is the intent, the overall goal for the funds, the community, being the whole county itself. I mean, do you want to develop some type of, lack of a better term, mission statement goal associated with like why you're doing this, and really ultimately kind of that the committee by the bylaws and stuff will give some structure to the committee will develop their own meeting rules, but at the end of the day, what is it that you're all trying to accomplish, I guess, which is usually pretty straightforward, and you've seen examples in other cases as well, but I mean, that again doesn't have to be overly complicated. It can be as simple as, getting these settlement funds out into the community to do X, Y, and Z. So, and again, I'm assuming I would draft that for you. And then you would provide feedback and decide what your final opinion would be, so.
Read from this last paragraph.
All right, well, I think that gives me enough to get started on, and then we'll come back, depending on how quickly I can put everything together. But we want to, I know there's interest in this, and they want to keep things moving, and obviously we do the best we can to keep that going as well, but obviously make sure that we're handling it in the best way possible as well, so. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, let's move on to take the final action on the VAC's recommendations for the budget. Looking at it from start to finish, for the regular budget, do you have any suggestions, recommendations for pages of their recommendations?
Well, we were gonna discuss the jail.
Yeah, that's a separate budget, but we'll get through the regular budget first, and we all set with the regular budget. Also, so let's take a vote on that budget too. Michael, what's the number we want to be approving today? Monica, somebody.
I mean, ultimately, you basically in the past, you've gone down through the emotions. You indicate what the expenditures are. You indicate what the revenues, projected revenues are, the amount to be raised by taxation, which is all on that cover sheet. And that's usually what you approve. Now, of course, the final budget will come back for you to actually have the one that has everything completed and signed and ready to go. But the question does become, right now, this doesn't reflect any added change to the cap amount of the tax, which does need to be a part of your calculation. So if you're gonna increase the
So we're not taking any official action?
No,
today?
the final action will be the next meeting, so we'll provide you with a complete copy with the signature line and everything. Right now, it's just to give us guidance before the final meeting. In our first meeting in December, that's usually when you approve it. But if you tell us right now that, or you vote on it right now, or let us know that there isn't gonna be any changes, then essentially it's gonna look exactly as, pretty close to exactly what you have
We're
there.
gonna have to do both the jail and the budget right now. So then if we have no suggested changes to the departmental budget, I'm going to suggest that we add $250,000 to the jail tax cap. That's my suggestion. Monica thinks it could be as bad as that, if not, if not more. This year, it's not gonna get any better next year. So this is another example of the state with mandates that to drive the cost of doing business up, and then refusing to give us the funds to cover it. So we're just gonna have to ignore get with it.
Keep
So
the track of it.
that's, in other words, that's in Department 11. Is that what you're saying?
Whatever this jail cap figure is.
Yep.
2,391, we're gonna add 250,000.
Okay.
So my general consensus, that's the number you're gonna add and have ready for us at the next meeting. Is there anything we can do to improve our revenues? I haven't heard a thing in a while. It's in the weeds. So I guess for all we can do today, you have that recommendation from us, and we'll look for that in the next meeting for our final vote. Okay? Gentlemen, okay?
Okay.
Michael, this issue from the court martial,
Yeah.
give me everything.
So I provided you with obviously copies of the correspondence back and forth between myself and Travis Cody. They inquired about or expressed their strong desire that the commissioners approve the closing of the main front entrance that on Center Street, the big State Street, sorry, yeah, sorry. Those steps, basically closing those doors and then moving the second point of screening now down to the sheriff's office, outside the sheriff's office. They repeated or reiterated that really, since all their other courts, everywhere else, they only have one entry port, that they would like to send everybody up to the main entrance by the parking garage that goes in there, off in the jail parking lot and all that. Obviously, that presents some issues because there's certainly not enough parking there. And then people that do park in other spots, whether it's down in the overall parking area or down along the road, would have to use the sidewalks, which are maybe not great getting up that steep hill. And then also you still have, which I don't believe they fixed still, to still have the water pile that's out there that we're even talking about as a staff, what that parking lot might look like in the spring, in the winter, so. But separate from that, the issue becomes, what can you do?
What about elevator entry down to the sheriff's office?
So that was the recommendation that facilities, I went back to facilities and talked with Dave and Dennis a couple different times about what they could do. The ultimate concern was the fact that you have an access point right now that somebody could perhaps get by screening by going into by the sheriff's office. So to propose to cut that off, you have the opinion, I believe, was in your stuff from Dennis, who had written to you, basically said, and they had reached out to Sergeant Travis Oaks about this, apparently, that's not the final say, but basically that they would be okay, and the recommendation would be with facilities locking out the elevator and the stairwell door on the ground floor downstairs, but so you could get in and you could still go over to where the entrance to the sheriff's office is and talk with dispatchers on the phone and all that, but you couldn't go up the stairways and you couldn't go up the elevator without card access or somebody on staff letting you up or down. And that was the other issue part of it, that somebody with a disability in a wheelchair or some other to utilize the elevator, especially to get up coming in through that way, which they couldn't do, so they'd have to go down to start with regardless, would have to have somebody let them down first and then second let them up, but they would still be screened. So if they did come downstairs to see somebody in the sheriff's office, whoever the person is that saw them would have to lead them back to the elevator, use their card or fob to let the elevator be active and send them on their way.
But what about people that want to come down to see EMA, people want to come down to see facility inspector, you know?
Well, right now,
They're already locked.
yeah, they're already locked out, yeah.
It's already on.
So that got closed out, what, a couple months ago?
Yeah.
So they can't, right now, that's one of the things, that to get into those places, they can only get as far as basically that entryway.
Foyer.
So you can,
How does like a
Oh,
salesman
yeah.
unannounced want to come in and see you?
Well, we provide phone numbers right there for the different departments, so basically you need an appointment. And for better or for worse, if Bob's there, he facilitates some of this. And I'm not saying that's a way to have it done, but we provide the phone numbers. We would provide all kinds of signage.
So we're not going to
outside
change
these
anything with this.
no, I mean, the only difference would be is that people can't get beyond the ground level when they
We
come in the
shut
sheriff's.
the elevator off coming up. That would be the change, correct?
Yes, that's the primary change as well as the access to the stairs going up.
And you can't go from second floor down, second
Going-
floor up. Can you use the elevator at all?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it all remains the same, we just can't get on it from the ground floor. You can still come down, we have to allow it to come down, we can't block egress. But we can stop them from coming back in.
Isn't it the same with
So
the
if you come in,
stairs?
if you come in on the third floor, you can come down through registry of deeds, get back on,
Oh, yeah, sure, no, that's all work.
back to the front door. I don't know what the walk-in traffic would be for probate. Your office, treasury, room, your office, registry of deeds. But I am concerned about the drug test, drug clients who would have to come in and check in. Now they're gonna have to come in and walk through the whole building just to get to their office.
Well, even for the court upstairs, to be honest with you, a lot of the jurors and other interested parties, they use that front entrance and they go right up the stairs and they never make it
Why would you
inside.
know where the other entrances were? You're the general public, I mean, you can't get. Driving back.
On heavy jury days, we could have 2 juries being picked that day and a couple hundred people
Yeah.
here. So we need, I mean, if you have just one entrance trying to get through
We
security.
have the AC members that couldn't find this back then, much less than 200 jurors. I'm wondering if it isn't a drastic change for a short-term problem. I mean, they're gonna be doing it 2 years. I'm just,
I mean, going off obviously what Dennis and Dave looked at, supposedly they'll be agreeable to this alternative. They just gotta close that security hole.
Yes, yep, they're very happy with that.
If you go back to
Just do the
them
elevator.
with, we're not gonna close the front door, but here's our alternative, then you're trying to accommodate them and you're still maintaining presumably the security and integrity of their screening process, so.
All right, I'm gonna move to deny the request by the courts to close the State Street door access to the courthouse to the public and to offer the courts with an alternative plan suggested by the facility manager for Hancock County.
I'll second that.
we have to incorporate that into the minutes.
Instant.
Whatever that, somehow you're gonna be able to see what that is.
We just add Dennis's statement into the minutes.
We say, Jill,
Add Dennis's statement into the minutes.
somehow you've got to be able to access that, read the minutes, you can understand what that recommendation was. Okay, okay. Yeah. Any further discussion? Here,
Just a quick question. So when they do show up down outside of my office, how do we get them back upstairs if nobody's available to get them out of that foyer?
you mean they come in the front door?
Well, they come down the elevator to speak, say, to the sheriff's department or whatever, they either have to go back outside and they're parked up here somewhere. Or dispatch is gonna have to find somebody to let them back in.
We're also gonna put signage in the elevators, outside the elevators, in the elevator.
Well, I get that, but
If you
I
step,
mean, like,
I know they don't.
I get 20, 30 people a day that come out of the stairwell, look around, and they need to go back upstairs. When they're there, it's not a big, it's not a problem, just tell them where to go. But I guess my question is when they do get inadvertently in a place that they can't get back out of without exiting the building, that's kind of hard, how we gonna deal with that?
Because that's supposed to be the idea, right? Is that those people really should be screened.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that, I'm just saying, how do we get them back upstairs when nobody's available to get back
Right.
upstairs?
You could be the screener.
I'm not taking responsibility. I mean, if you want me to, I will.
I mean, I think
At a small fee.
Well, a
It's
prime
not-
example is somebody comes down to civil to see Mary Ann.
Right.
Mary Ann says you gotta go to court.
Right.
Now, how do they get to court?
Now we
Now
gotta-
they
now we gotta
leave,
send them
go
all
up
the way back
around.
around the building. to go back.
Basically,
Well,
yes.
Mary Ann can take him to the elevator.
No, because they haven't been screened.
They have good-
Yeah, see, that's the concern is you wouldn't know. So I mean, it's like anything else. If you go to Disney and you walk out the wrong exit, guess what? You're going back around and you're going through screening. I mean, it's the same concept. Unfortunately, it doesn't make it easy, but if I had somebody come down the stairs and they popped out, you don't know. I mean, you're assuming they're coming down the stairs, but they have been screened, but you also don't know if you didn't see them, whether or not they just
Right.
walked through the sheriff's door and their con to get in is, hey, I just came down the stairs and I got lost. Can you send me back up with my AK so I can get in, you know?
With a wheelchair.
So it's one of those things.
The stairs.
But, at some point, that's
Ah,
the
it's-
trade-offs, I mean, I guess. I wouldn't put the responsibility back on the county employees to be, determine whether or not they've gone through screening or not. So hopefully, like you said, with signage, hopefully enough people won't do that, but I mean, there's no perfect solution, and I wouldn't want any of the county staff members to have to try to say, well, they've been screened or they haven't been screened, unless you absolutely saw them go through that, so. But hopefully, like you said, this will be a short-term issue in a couple of years that will resolve itself.
We're gonna come down us.
Did you vote?
No, we're just.
Still in discussion phase. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jim.
While you're there, any comments, Michael? You're all set?
Yeah.
Commissioners, comments, suggestions? The only one I have is that we've been invited by solar developers, Township 16, to do a visit and to see the upgrades and to meet with the representative, Hancock will be there also to look at that. This is not a commissioners meeting, we're just attending at their invitation to look at an update, and Sam and I have agreed, John's got a pre-commitment that they will be going out on Tuesday at 10 o'clock, meeting at the office site in Eastbrook, and going from there.
To adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Oh, I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned.
Aye.